Okay, mic check. Okay, mic. What's up? Good morning, everyone. We are back. Let's get going. A British general, H. Assam, reported 4 times since the breakout at Avranches' invasion of France. Patton and his army gave Eisenhower opportunities which might well have proved decisive, shortened the war, saved thousands of lives, and left the West in a better strategic posture than it would be more than a quarter of a century later. It is so easy to think of war as the draft, the training, of building planes, moving men and materials, and even of helping the economy of the country. It is so easy to forget that the primary mission in war is to kill the enemy. The war with Japan ended immediately after the nuclear bomb was dropped. We can hope that the Society of Nations will decide that nuclear bombs killed too many people. The result could be international peace. Grab him by the nose and kick him in the pants. General Patton's best known principle was grab 'em by the nose and kick 'em in the pants. These words are simple, but few management experts or military commanders understand the importance of this principle. General Patton's words were blunt when he spoke to the soldiers. We are in war. Wars are won only by killing people. It is easier to kill people when you can see what you are shooting at. That's for sure. Planes and big guns can drop bombs and shells on the enemy or behind the enemy lines. This does not do much good in killing people. Not many soldiers can be killed by scaring them to death. We got to go up and grab the enemy by the nose. We will go where we can see the enemy. We will let the enemy know we are not afraid. We will let them know we are coming for only one reason, to kill them. When we grab them by the nose, they will shoot at us. That is just fine, because from their firing, we know where they are. We will move so fast they will not hit us. After we will get the attention on their nose, After we get the attention on their nose, they will keep shooting at where we have been. We will move around behind them with our tanks and capture all of their gas, food, and supplies. We will kill everyone that gets in our way. General Patton would pause before adding, we'll even capture all of their women. He spoke the words the soldiers understood. We'll always move fast. We'll never dig foxholes to hide in. When you dig a foxhole, you dig your grave. When you are in that foxhole and fire at the enemy knows exactly where you are. They will soon get you in their gun sights and you will be dead. You keep moving and you keep moving and you'll never be in the enemy's gun sight. General Patton would close with his usual words. Remember, wars are won by killing people. The more we kill, the quicker we'll get out of this war. Wars are not won by defending land. Let the enemy have any land he wants, as he let the enemy have any land he wants as long as we can get him into a position where we can kill him. In World War II, many generals attempted to fight the war on the principle of defense. Few generals used the principles of speed and movement. Most of the generals used the principle of position. General Patton always wanted the best position where he could destroy the enemy. This was usually behind their line of defense. General Patton's principle was that the enemy had to be kept under constant attack. To defend a position would mean the enemy was able to get into an attacking position. For an example, in Vietnam, we never grabbed the enemy by the nose. We never knew why we were in Vietnam. Killing people was not the objective. I remember having a service club speaker, a high government official, say that a little bit of war in a distant place was good for the economy of the United States. Fighting a war to help the economy would cause General Patton to explode. Who in hell ever heard of fighting a war to help the economy? War is killing people. Trying to say there is such a thing as a little bit of war is trying to say there is such a thing as a little bit of war is like trying to say a woman is a little bit pregnant. Who would have the gal to tell a soldier he was giving his life to help the economy? There are many practical examples of the need to grab a problem by the nose and kick it in the pants. The discipline of children requires the prompt action of facing the enemy. The child that needs discipline Too often the mother will say, "You have disobeyed again. Wait until your father gets home. He'll give you the punishment you deserve." When the father comes home, he may say, "Let's wait until morning. We might cause our child to lose sleep tonight. Let's wait and see if he does it again." Too often, this delay gives the child the chance to take all of the attack positions so that he can demand the surrender of his parents. The child that is grabbed by the nose and spanked in the pants will appreciate that the parents are teaching the child how to make the mind control the body. When parents fail to discipline children, the children lose respect for authority from any source, whether it is home, school, community, or society. These children may refuse to these children may refuse to register for the draft and to serve their country. Or, as General Patton said so often, in the United States, we always invite the enemy to attack by our refusal to face the threats of war. Those in fear of retirement and death fail to grab the enemy, death, by the nose and destroy the fear. Too often, retirement hits like a surprise attack from an enemy. Few people grab retirement by the nose. Many of us do not catch the principle that every day of life is one day closer to retirement. Every day of life at any age is one day closer to death. Failure to grab death by the nose can cause us to live our last years in constant fear. When our life expectancy is down to a few years, the enemy, death, may be in total command. When death is grabbed by the nose, we are not in a foxhole of depression over death. General Patton's simple principle is so easy to state, but difficult to live. Many organizations never actually grab the enemy, local problem, by the nose. Many governmental agencies never grab their mission by the nose. Too often, their primary mission is to make sure they continue their government program for another year. Keep the problem unsolved. Never grab it by the nose. I'm not sure that Churchill ever caught the importance of speed in winning wars. Churchill's personal physician did not understand the importance of General Patton's principle when he wrote in his book, "Patton was an unusual general. He was not much good at fighting a battle, but he was the best pursuit general of recent years." If British General Montgomery, had been as good in pursuit as he was in fighting a battle, then he would have been one of the great captains. Fighting a battle as Churchill and Montgomery wanted to fight was exactly what General Patton wanted to avoid. General Patton would say, "It's a waste of our fine young men to stay in fixed positions and see who can send over the most shells. It costs too many lives to stay in foxholes where the enemy can keep firing until they bracket into a perfect shot. We must keep moving and let the enemy hit where we have been. Let the enemy stay in their fixed positions. We will move fast and destroy the enemy as they prepare to do battle with us. This is the end. This is the way to win the war. Always keep the enemy defending. Never let the enemy pick the battle site. We will fight where we want to fight, and not where the enemy wants to fight. We will always keep the odds of battle on our side." This principle is discussed in the chapter on the rules for winning. General Patton would never fight the day in and day out of merely sending shells at the enemy. He did not want to destroy a bridge or road that could be used in pursuit of the enemy. Montgomery, by his own statements, always wanted to regroup, consolidate gains, or wait for reinforcements. So often, General Patton would order, "To hell with taking 3 days to regroup. We will regroup on the run. Let the women and children consolidate our gains. When we get the enemy on the run, we must keep him on the run. We must run faster than he does. Well, not need any food. Will not need food when we are winning. We will eat the enemy." Harsh words, but the soldier caught the principle. The enemy cannot kill when the enemy is on the run. Many military and management leaders fight their battles on the principles of maintaining positions. So many workers in large corporations consider the coffee break as the major mission of the day. So if you understand General Patton's principle of how to grab him by the nose, So if you understand General Patton's principle of how to grab the problem by the nose and work to solve the problem, few of us grab our problem by the nose and kick the problem in the pants. Um, it's really early in the morning. Let's just take a break. We just I know we didn't even read anything, but that's okay. We're gonna take a break. Why not? We did good. Okay, everyone, here we go. Man is the only war machine. General Patton constantly stressed that man is the only war machine. In his lectures and in the staff meetings, he said, all this talk about super weapons and push button warfare is a pile of junk. Man is the only war machine. Man has to drive Man has to drive the tanks, fly the planes, crawl through the mud, pull the triggers, and push the buttons. We will train to be strong in body and mind. Always remember that man is the only machine that can win the war. No general I ever knew had such a clear picture of war and the necessity of training for combat. We smiled at General Patton's simple ideas, but the ideas were sound. It's nice to have good equipment, he lectured. A tank is a great weapon for killing infantry troops. So is the machine gun, but man is the key. Remember the French Revolution? The battles of that war were won with brooms, sticks, and stones by a bunch of angry women. Get a determined bunch of men and women, and they will win the battles, no matter what the odds or what kind of equipment they use. We won the Revolutionary War, didn't we? It wasn't. It was against a far superior material force. Remember what they used in the first battle? They cut logs and rolled them down the hill at the enemy. Rolling logs did not kill, but it sure scattered the British troops so they could not fire their muskets. If some exhausted officer would fall asleep during a long lecture, General Patton would go to the officer with his hands on his shoulder. General Patton would ask, how long you been without sleep? If the officer reported anything less than 48 hours, General Patton would go into a rage about staying awake for at least 2 days when in combat. If the man had not if the man had not had any sleep for more than 2 days, General Patton would order him to leave and get to sleep. If you give me 10 good men not afraid to die, and we will destroy an enemy division of 10,000. That is, if the 10 men will stay awake. General Patton smiled. One of General Patton's greatest talents was the ability to destroy fear in the minds of the soldiers. He eliminated fear in his own mind and gave the same ability to the troops. He considered fear the first enemy that had to be killed. Face every fear, and every fear will disappear, with a basic principle for him. One day, after one of these lectures, General Patton added, I should say that our first enemy will always be Congress. Congressmen are always running for re-election. Money for defense comes only after election. We have to live with Congress. General Patton's most famous anti-fear speech was called the Blood and Guts Lecture. Within hours after new troops were under General Patton's command, they would get the Blood and Guts speech. Usually this speech was given to large groups of at least 200 men. General Patton would stand on any elevated mound of sand in the desert. He used a floor mic. He stood as straight as the iron pipe holding the microphone. He never touched the iron pipe for support. He did not use any notes nor index cards. He never read a prepared text. Staff officers were ordered to attend every lecture so that we could get the reaction of the troops. I regret that I did not tape this lecture. I have not been able to locate a printed text of this speech. I heard this sermon so many times I can report most of his words from memory without missing many words. The profanity I will not attempt. General Patton would give a loud command. At ease. He would wait for several seconds, wearing his most severe war face. When every soldier was completely motionless, he lectured, Soldiers, do not worry about being scared when we go into combat. Any man who says he is not scared is a dang liar. I know. I've been in combat and I've been scared. I can tell you when you will stop. Now, I can tell you when you will stop being scared. When the first shell hits near you, that's when you will stop being scared. You take your hand and wipe your forehead. On your hand, you will find the blood and guts of your best friend. You stop being scared. You'll know exactly what to do. You will kill those dang fools that killed your best friend before they kill you. That's war. You either kill or get killed. Never worry about being scared. You will know what to do. It was a short lecture, almost too short for the massing of the troops, but the words would stay in the minds of the soldiers. General Patton would march to his command car or jeep and drive away. Other officers would dismiss the troops. Other officers would dismiss the troops. We called this lecture the gory. We called this lecture the gory lecture. But the blood and guts frankness gave the troops the true meaning of war. The troops stopped being scared. If General Patton would admit being scared, they could be scared. The newsmen called General Patton old blood and guts and wrote, "It's the blood of the troops given for Patton's guts." Huh. We did call him we did call him this at times, but it was for the sermon and not for ordering the troops into foolish battles. On any battle at any moment, General Patton would appear with the troops in the thick of the enemy fire. He faced the same fears the soldiers faced. In addition to this sermon, General Patton used every trick in the book to build confidence in the troops. The pearl handed pistols, we always called them pearl, were symbols to destroy fear and build confidence in the minds of the soldiers. I remember the first day he wrote I remember the first day he wore the pistols. I had a camera and took his picture. It was a chilly winter day in January 1942. We had received a few handguns, 45 automatics, and some ammunition, so we were on the small arm range at Fort Benning, Georgia. As a junior officer, the only equipment I had was an empty pistol, holster, and camera. High ranking officers had the pistols and fired at the targets before the lieutenants could take practice shots. In January, for the target, we had the large circle with the center dot. General Patton changed these targets to the shape of a man in the enemy uniform. When the others were firing, I was with Colonel Gay, who saw General Patton's pistols and asked, "General, where did you get those fancy pistols?" General Patton answered, "I shot a Mexican general out of his saddle when I was with General Pershing in Mexico chasing Panko Villa. Ask me what I'm going to do with these pistols? What are you going to do with them? I'm going to shoot the SOB, Rommel, and throw these pistols in his face." This story was told and retold many times. I did not believe this saddle shootout story. In fact, I never made any study of General Patton's World War I experience. Several years after World War II, I was introduced to a retired soldier who had been the driver of the automobile from which General Patton fired at the Mexican general. The driver relayed the story. We were driving by desert. We the The driver related to the story. We were driving by a deserted ranch house. It was a rough road for our auto. Suddenly, this horse and rider came from behind the house, shooting at us. Patton ordered me to stop the car. I put on the brakes. Before I could get stopped, General Patton was outside, standing on the running board, firing across the top of his car. General Patton was outside, standing on the running board, firing across the top of the car. His first shots killed the men who fell off of his horse. We could see he was a general. We strapped him on the front hood of the car as you would a buck deer and drove back to General Pershing's headquarters. General Patton's pistols created more international confidence than Churchill's two-finger salute with the V and words when you die, take one of the enemy with you. Within a few weeks, the V was changed to victory. People did not want the truth that the price of victory could be at the cost of their own death. General Patton would never let the troops forget that the peace General Patton would never let the troops forget that the price of victory in any battle was killing of the enemy. Every soldier knew the fancy pistols were going to kill Rommel. Later, General Patton said he was going to kill that SOB Hitler. The soldiers knew General Patton would do it. General Patton used every method to build confidence in the soldiers to kill. During the day, he drove in an open jeep among the troops as he advanced towards the enemy lines. The staff made plans for a small plane to land on a road or in a field near the front. At dusk, General Patton would meet the plane and pilot and return to his headquarters by air so that the troops would never see him retreating. General Patton wanted the soldiers to always see him going to the front lines. I like these short breaks after every chapter. Let's take another break. Okay, welcome back, everyone. In the long run, is what we do not say that will destroy us. I doubt that General Patton was the first to state that a failure to speak could cause destruction, but he constantly followed this principle. He spoke the truth when the leaders in public life would stay away from truth. He violated all of the rules in current use, such as don't make waves, do not fight City Hall, keep your mouth shut, and you'll stay out of trouble. Never speak it if it will create ill will. Right or wrong, stick with the establishment. This type of action was not for General Patton, who never hesitated, doing everything he could to irritate an enemy, foreign or domestic. General Patton's attacks upon false idols and ideals caused all the staff to worry when he spoke in public. He never hesitated to grab a problem by the nose and shake out the truth. I remember his saying, "This war was caused by every last one of us." No one spoke out against Hitler. Everybody wanted peace in their own lifetime. If any leader of any country had opposed Hitler, we would not be fighting this dang war. Only Churchill spoke out against Hitler. But Churchill's election as Prime Minister of England came too late to prevent the war. It is what we did not say that is destroying us now. In trying to buy peace for our lives, we will pay the price of losing thousands of our finest young men. I remember a colonel who suggested that General Patton tone down his remarks about our war policies. This colonel was trying to be helpful and suggested that there was merit in the old motto, speak no evil, see no evil, and hear no evil. General Patton went into one of his impromptu briefings. Yes, Colonel, but that no evil business is for monkeys who hide their eyes, ears, and mouth to the truth. God is truth, and don't ever forget it. Evil must be attacked whenever it appears. You hear your kind of garbage every day. But let me tell you something. It is foolish to say that you should never get into a professional contest with a skunk. I will tell you that if you do not kill the first skunk that shows up, that skunk will get under the house, and you will have to burn the house down to get rid of the skunks. These words are not exactly what General Patton said. He used profanity to give his words more meaning. There was laughter, and when the laughter stopped, General Patton continued, "Look at Pearl Harbor. No one wanted to get into war. We said so. Any fool could see it coming. We invited the attack. We let the skunks get under our front porch, and so we burned at Pearl Harbor." Many years later, I remember General Patton speaking out principle when a service club adopted a four-way test for truth as a way to avoid troubles and keep peace. This four-way test was as follows. One This four-way test was as follows. Of the things we think, say, or do, 1. Is it the truth? 2. Is it fair to all concerned? 3. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? 4. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I know how General Patton would attack such a test. He would explode. Who in the hell do those people think they are that they can be a wussy around with truth? God is truth. Never forget it. You take some wussy test in war, and you are dead. What a stupid fool Patrick Henry was to say, "Give me liberty." What a dang fool Patrick Henry was to say, "Give me liberty or give me death." Such a statement makes fools out of every man who signed our Declaration of Independence when they pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. We would not have this country if John Hancock had been a member of that service club. Can you imagine John Hancock saying, "I'm signing my name big enough so the king can see it. But first, I want to be sure this Declaration of Independence will build goodwill." Starting a revolution did not generate friends nor build goodwill, and it was not beneficial to all concerned. Wussy was a term General Patton used for delays. I am sure General Patton would continue with humor and not with rage about such wussy way tests for truth. He would smile and say, if Noah had been a member of such a service club, he would have answered God by saying, "Before I lay down the first plank for the ark, I will have to take a four-way test. Lord, please tell me, will a flood benefit everybody and make friends?" All of our training in the military, in our schools and churches is to believe in idols. to stand for something, and to have faith in God. When we do not speak in support of the founders of our country, we destroy our country. Should there be any doubt that this four-way truth test is a silencer of truth, one of the international presidents of the Service Club told me, yes, that four-way test conflicts with our ideals of service, but I cannot say anything about it. It is too well established in our thinking. When we establish false ideas in our clubs and in our minds that degrade our patriotism and religious beliefs, we follow a course of destruction. When we have fears of speaking the truth, we lose faith in our basic beliefs. Neither God nor truth can be wussied away, using General Patton's term. Current examples of our destruction is in our giving the pledge to the flag and to the republic for which it stands and singing the battle hymn of the republic. As we give lip service to our republic, our political leaders attempt to sell democracy to us and to other countries. It is true that in a democracy, the people are all powerful or sovereign. However, this power does not come from the people every hour of the day. The power of the people is to be used only on election days. When this power is used only on election days, we have a republic. When the people want to vote every day on every bill in Congress and on every act of the president, we have a true democracy. When our society enjoys taking polls on the people on every nitpicking question, it is a democracy. Such a democracy keeps the people happy and keeps re-electing the non-thinking representatives for our government. These types are serving the people and not the country. It is so easy to see these problems if we can stretch our minds as General Patton did to see several thousand years instead of some personal penny gain at the end of our noses. Listen to one of our army generals of the early 30s, General C.P. Summerall. One of the earliest forms of government and one of the worst forms was the true democracy, in which every question was submitted to the will of the people. We see outbursts of this even in our own day, 1933, and what is known as mob rule. It naturally and inevitably degenerated into demagoguery. General Summerall held the office of Secretary of War when we had a War Department. We now have a Department of Defense, a term which General Patton would never approve. If you should think that General Summerall is wrong, listen to the historian Thucydides, writing about 400 years before Christ was born. Democracies always self-destruct because the people will spend into bankruptcy. As our current Congress debates are deficient, we are about 3,000 years out of date. We do not want truth. This power of the people struck me one morning when I was in the Oval Office of our White House with the president and his executive aide. I had the evidence to prove an assistant to one of his cabinet members was breaking the rules of our Constitution. I was pledging I was pleading with the president to fire the responsible cabinet officer. The president's reply was a shock. We would not dare touch that question at this time. The news media would kill us. An amazing admission by one who has the might of our country in his hands. I should include a remark which the president added, namely, never forget that every single citizen in the United States has more power than I have as president. A truth which we should speak and keep repeating is that we elect our representatives to serve our country, not to go to Washington to get reelected. Failure to speak such truth has destroyed our credit position with a staggering national debt. There was a day in our history when President Monroe told the world that we would go to war if any nation made any attempt to move into any country in our part of the world. That day is gone. Today, the best way to get elected to office is to promise our soldiers will not fight on foreign soil. We do not want war. Every little kid knows that the best way to get into a fight is to constantly cry, I'm afraid to fight. Our first president, General Washington, cautioned, the way to have peace is to prepare for war. General Patton would be so proud that General Washington did not say, prepare for defense. General Patton was considered a rash, outspoken, reckless military type who wanted war, but war was what General Patton believed could prevent it. General Patton was considered a rash, outspoken, reckless military type who wanted war, but war was what General Patton believed could be prevented by having faith to keep up defenses so that we would not so that we need not fear attack from any enemy. I remember General Patton's principle about the power of silence to destroy when the Watergate explosion hit the newspapers. In addition to all of those who were directly involved and went to jail, how many hundreds in knowledge of the legal acts and said nothing? How easily Watergate could have been avoided if the skunks had been stopped before they dug onto the front porch of our White House. This principle is as valid today. This principle is as valid today as it was during General Patton's life. In fact, this principle was quoted almost in the exact text by one of our State Department diplomats during the England Falkland fighting. This envoy said, "When any relationship turns sour, it's usually because of what was not said, not what was said. Argentina assumed that we would not do anything to help England. Argentina assumed that we wanted peace at any price. In truth, as General Patton said so often, we invited the war. We did not actually engage in the Falkland affair, but we gave support in many ways, which Argentina did not expect. As history is being written, General Patton's principles are proving to be correct. Respect for General Patton is growing throughout the world with over 25 memories. Respect for General Patton is growing throughout the world with over 25 memorials. Jeez, come on, man. Respect for General Patton is growing throughout the world with over 25 memorials dedicated to him in Europe. Many of the military and political leaders who opposed General Patton have been forgotten or have lost respect. In 1945, General Patton was relieved of command for being so rash as to say, we must build up Germany as a bulwark against Russia. That rash statement of 1945 is a basic policy of our government today. As usual, General Patton was 30 years ahead of the leaders. The leaders who remain silent when they should speak are soon lost from memory. President was not silent when Russia needed to be called an evil empire. Reagan also spoke out and saying, Reagan. That's not Reagan, right? It's Reagan. This looks weird. I don't know. Reagan also, now let's look it up. Just a little confused, actually. Yeah, Reagan is spelled with an A. That's not Reagan. That's something else. I don't know what that is. It says before President Reagan. This is weird. He spelled it wrong? Hold on. No, that's definitely Reagan because it says here president who made a famous speech in front of the, let's see, what's that say? Take down the Berlin Wall. Yep, that's completely wrong, Reagan. All right, cool. Let's do it again. Reagan also spoke out in saying, take down the Berlin Wall. The wall came down. Before President Reagan spoke out against Russia, we were in fear of the military might of Russia. Okay, talk with the troops. 144. We're doing good. I'll see you guys in a minute. Okay. Sorry, excuse me. Talk with the troops. The stories are numerous about General Patton talking with the troops. Most of the stories are true. Some are legends. The most amazing stories are true. I remember an incident. I remember I remember an incident which happened when we moved into the Desert Training Center. General Patton spotted a man working on a telephone pole near our camp. This man was wearing army tan pants, but his shirt was an off tan color. Plus, the man was off color tan. Plus, the man was wearing a large plantation straw hat. General Patton was rough on men being out of proper uniform. We were supposed to wear the fiber liners for the steel helmets. We had not received the new metal helmets. General Patton ordered the man to climb down the pole. This man gave some short greeting and ignored General Patton's order. General Patton shouted, "Come down from that pole. I am ordering you down from the pap. I am ordering you down from that pole. You're out of uniform. I cannot take time to come down, and I don't know what your problem is, but I can't listen to you. I got work to do. You come down, or I'll shoot you down. You have disobeyed my order. I have the right to shoot you when you disobey an order." The man continued to work, answering, "You shoot me down, and you will go to jail for murder. The only man who can order me off this pole is my telephone supervisor. He'll shoot me if I don't get this job done this afternoon." General Patton smiled. "You with the telephone company?" "Right. We have some mad general coming in here with a big army. They want hundreds of lines hooked up all at once. I wish you would just go on about your business so I can finish this splice." General Patton laughed. "Carry on. I thought you were a soldier under my command. Those tan pants fooled me. Get your work done. We need telephones. I'm the mad general your boss wants to avoid." The man looked down and mumbled, "For Lord's sake." General Patton answered, "No, it is not. It is not for the Lord. It is not for the Lord. It is for me and our soldiers that we need telephone lines." One morning, I was riding with General Patton in the desert. We were about 30 miles from base camp. General Patton was surveying the desert with his field glasses, watching the movement of the tanks and supporting equipment. He spotted a truck on the paved highway several miles away. During the desert maneuvers, no army vehicle was permitted on the highway. Every vehicle had to move on the desert sand. It was over 10 miles to the highway, but General Patton ordered the driver to chase the slow-moving truck going back to base camp on the highway. When we caught the truck, General Patton waved the driver to the side of the highway. "What's the problem, soldier? Can't you take the desert?" "You know the orders. No vehicle is permitted on the highway during maneuvers." General Patton was wearing his war face. "General, I can take the desert, but this truck cannot. I'm trying to save the transmission by limping back to base. You want to know the problem? I'll tell you. You keep asking for more men and equipment to get into the desert. My commanding officer keeps trying to keep you happy by sending out all the equipment that'll run. Well, if we lose many more trucks, we'll not have enough equipment to haul rations back from Indio. I don't look forward to walking to Indio and bringing rations back in a handbasket." The soldier was as disgusted as General Patton was angry. "You still have problems getting parts?" General Patton asked. "No change. We cannot make repairs without repair parts." "What's the problem with your transmission?" General Patton was relaxed. "General, they don't make a transmission for this desert heat. Somehow we got to get a cooler in front of the oil pan, or the transmission will always burn out." Before we drove away, General Patton gave the soldier a drink from his canteen and congratulated the soldier for caring more for his truck than he did for obeying orders of superiors. To be offered a drink from General Patton's canteen was an award equal to the Distinguished Service Cross. We, dis- we discussed the cooling problem, and I was ordered to get all the facts and write a report for Washington. While we were still in voice range, General Patton said, "That man is one dang good soldier." The soldier beamed with pride. Women were not spared from General Patton's wrath, although they were not in the army. General Patton saw a car on the main highway with a flat tire as we were returning to our base camp after a maneuver. The car had a Georgia license plate. Georgia was our home. When we were stationed in Fort Benning, a soldier in uniform was helping the women change the tire. The women was in extremely short shorts, and women did not wear such shorts in 1942. General Patton assumed that the women was what he called a camp follower. General Patton ordered his driver to stop. General Patton started, "Soldier, why are you leaving your duty assignment to help this camp follower who belongs in Georgia? I don't have to report in for duty assignment for 3 more days, and this woman is not a camp follower. She is my wife." General Patton apologized and offered to help with changing the tire. We stayed with the couple until they could drive away. General Patton would not tolerate any abuse of his men. In the first weeks of our being in the desert, we were visited by many from Los Angeles and Hollywood. It was good publicity for movie stars to have their pictures taken with soldiers and tanks. Everyone wanted to get into the war. We had some beautiful young starlets visit our camp with their agents and photographers. These young girls excited the troops. Several of the young starlets gave their telephone numbers to some of the men. I learned several weeks later how much service the young girls gave. One of the young officers on our staff confided that he had to get $500 to one of the girls for an abortion. As the judge advocate for the staff, I advised that as the judge advocate for the staff, I advised that he should offer to marry the girl. She refused, stating that marriage would compromise her career. I advised that he should be dutiful lover and go with her for the abortion and give the money directly to the doctor. This was not acceptable to the girl. As I was attempting to help this man, two others came in with the same problem. On questioning, I discovered the same girl was asking for fatherly help from all three of the men for the same abortion. Since this was a problem which could exist without General Patton's knowledge, it was decided to bring the problem before the full staff. General Patton solved the problem in a few minutes. General Patton ordered that no man could get married without talking to a chaplain. All of our chaplains were alerted to the extortion schemes. In addition, General Patton ordered that no more women of any type would be permitted in camp. This includes wives, girls, friends, mothers, and relatives. In truth, the desert was not a decent place to visit with anyone. If a family member or relative wanted to visit a soldier, the soldier was given a 3-day pass to enjoy the visit away from the desert. One exception was made to this order. General and Miss Marshall came to visit one of our maneuvers. Since General Marshall was the chief of staff for the President of the United States, an exception was made by General Patton. Miss Marshall and Miss Patton were good friends, hence, both wives came to the reviewing tent. This is the only time I ever saw Miss Patton in the desert. I saw General Patton every day. I have read reports that Miss Patton was always visiting our desert camp carrying a white umbrella. The day she was with Miss Marshall, neither wife was carrying an umbrella. As the photo in this book will indicate, General Marshall, Miss Marshall, and Miss Patton came in a 4-door sedan. Their car was driven within 10 feet of the reviewing stand. An umbrella would not have any value in giving protection from the heat. The desert sun and heat was such that any frail umbrella would give almost no protection from the sun. A tent was constructed to protect Miss Marshall, General Marshall, and his Washington staff. General Patton always stood outside of the cover of the tent. General Patton would never stand in the shade with his men. General Patton would never stand in the shade when his men were out in this blazing sun. One time I was asked if we used big fans to keep cool when the temperature went so far over 100 degrees. I gave a truthful answer, despite how foolish it sounded. I answered, no, we do not have any fans. We roll up the sides of our tents. That's all we could do to keep cooler. I did not hear a single complaint over General Patton's order, keeping women out of the desert. Many were grateful to have 3 days rather than a few hours with their family. This order keeping women out of the camp was not as harsh as it might seem. There was nothing comfortable about visiting with any friend in the shade of a tent when the temperature was often above 120 degrees. In staff meetings, General Patton instructed, take time to talk with the troops. They know more about the war than anybody, far more than we do. Make them tell you of all their grips. Let them know we are doing everything we can to help them. Let the soldiers know they have to win the war. Tell them the truth that they are the most important part of the army. They will not trust you if you do not trust them. General Patton walked back and forth in silence. He knew his little silent walks in front of the staff had great impact. He finished saying, "Always remember in talking with the troops, the most important thing to do is to listen." General Patton was concerned about every man of every rank. He was always talking with the soldiers. He touched soldiers with a handshake or a slap on the back. No man was so dirty or greasy that General Patton would decline to shake his hand. The orders were that all officers were saluted with the hand salute by every soldier. The soldier saluted first and held the salute until the officer returned the salute. General Patton did not hesitate to salute the soldiers before they saluted him. If a man deserved a compliment, General Patton would snap to attention and salute the man for his work. When we were in the desert with all the dust and dirt, I've seen soldiers try to stand in a straight line formation and salute General Patton when he drove past their area. For General Patton, the salute was something that was only soldiers exchanged. General Patton wanted every soldier to salute with pride. General Patton did not require the troops to do anything which was not essential. We did not hold any parades to march past a reviewing stand. Such parades did not have any value in tank wars. Every meeting of a large number of soldiers would be with General Patton on parade. If he would stand in front of the soldiers and talk to them about the objectives of a battle plan and how to stay alive. I remember a colonel who wanted to start rifle drill teams with competition among all the military organizations for the best drill team. General Patton denied the request, saying rifle drill teams are for peacetime armies when the troops have little to do. We have a war to win. I do not want any man using a rifle as a toy. I want every man using that rifle to kill. No one is thinking if everyone is thinking alike. We'll do that next. I'll be back. Okay, we're halfway there. I'm actually going to stop the live stream. We're going to stop because we did good today. We read for an hour with breaks, but that's okay. That's how radio works, right? You listen to music and then there's a break and then we go back to music. I mean, there's got to be a point for it. I don't know what the point is exactly, but uh, you know, in reading, it's just letting you, as Patton says, let the juices flow, right? You take a break so that you can walk around and let your memory expand. All right. Have a good day, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.